now than before. For Gabriela Partila's representative Arlene Brosas, 200 pesos is still not enough to tide Filipino workers over. She is pushing for a wage hike of 750 pesos, so daily take-home pay will be at 1,200 pesos, enough for a family of 5 to live decently. But for now, Brosas says she'll take the amount proposed by the speaker.
Positive development mula po sa atin. Ang kainaman po ay merong pagtaas na magaganap.
Last year, the Senate passed a bill for a 100 peso daily minimum wage hike. It was met with resistance by the private sector, especially the more than 95% belonging to the micro, small, and medium enterprise sector, or MSMEs. They warned that this will hurt the thousands of small employers also grappling with the impact of inflation. Assistant Majority Leader Pami Zamora can only ease the worries of traders with this.
I remember dun sa 100 peso wage hike, exempted ang mga companies na may 10 employees and below. Exempted din ang mga companies na ang capital is 3 million pesos and below.
Other lawmakers want to strike a balance between workers' needs and the actual capacity of employers to hike wages while trying to stay afloat.
We're facing record inflation and there are a lot of external factors to consider now. And quite plainly, when you look around, umaaray nga po ang tao. Yun, we have to approach it with abundant caution because not all parties stand to benefit.
This is actually to strike a balancing act on how we can maintain this negosyo. At the same time, hindi naman masyado din mahirapan sa kanilang gastusin yung kanilang mga empleyado.
But the Employers Confederation of the Philippines, or ECOP, is adamant. A legislated wage hike would only open the system to corruption. ECOP suggests that lawmakers leave this matter to the tripartite wage board.
It is better to leave it with the tripartite wage board kasi represented of DTI, DOLE, DEDA, legislated wage. Natatakot yung mga investors eh.
The House Committee on Labor and Employment will hear the proposed minimum wage hike bill on Thursday, January 30. They hope to pass the measure before the 19th Congress ends in June or right after the midterm elections. For News 5, I'm Marian Enriquez. We are One News.
The National Security Council is standing by its position that there are Chinese spies here and that potentially includes Deng Yuanqing, a Chinese national arrested in a Makati condo on January 17. NSC Assistant Director General Jonathan Malaya insisted that state investigators have built an extensive case against Deng based on surveillance operations before his arrest. The other day, we interviewed civic leader and victims advocate Teresita Angsi, where she slammed the NBI and PNP for sensationalizing the story without conducting thorough research beforehand. She also said police beat up Deng behind closed doors whenever they didn't like his answers. But Malaya maintains that they have enough evidence and that Deng could possibly be connected to the alleged Chinese spies in Palawan who were caught taking videos of Philippine Coast Guard vessels. He also pushed back against the Chinese embassy's claim that they are trampling on the rights of the alleged spy.
Mga nakuha natin kasi nakakalap tayo ng madaming ebidensya, no? Nakuha natin yung cellphone nila, nakuha natin yung mga equipment nila. We wish to assure the Chinese government and the Chinese embassy that we are not in any way denigrating the rights, no, of these Chinese nationals who are currently detained by the Philippine government. We have filed the necessary cases and they will have their day in court, no, and we will prove to the public, no, and to everyone that we have a solid case and we have all the evidences for their prosecution.
Meanwhile, President Bongbong Marcos has certified as urgent the postponement of the parliamentary elections in the Bangsamoro region. This after Senate President Cheese Escudero revealed in a press conference that the upper chamber is hell-bent on passing the measure on third reading next week.
Sa ngayon, may amendment yata na gagawing 5 buwan yung postponement. Ang pangunahing rason ay na rin sa security officials natin ay para hindi masyadong manipis yung pagkakalatag ng security forces natin kung isasabayan sa panahon ng regular elections. Pangalawa, para mabigyan din ng sapat na panahon ng BTA kung sakasakali, kung pagpapasyahan nila, na i-reallocate yung 7 seats na dapat nasa Sulu na nawala bungsod ng Supreme Court decision.
Now, because of this development, COMELEC will no longer proceed with printing the ballots for the BARM polls. Also, according to COMELEC Chairman George Garcia, they might end up reopening the filing of candidacies in the area. Supposedly their first regular polls, it is intended for BARM residents to finally elect their own 80-member parliament, who will then choose their chief minister, deputies, and wali or ceremonial head. Right now, the Bangsamoro Transition Authority is in charge of BARM with the officials chosen by the president.
Speaking of elections, we have the latest SWS survey of senatorial aspirants released just this evening. ACT-CIS Representative Erwin Tulfo continues to lead the race decisively, garnering 45% of votes. He is followed by former Senate President Tito Sotto, then Lito Lapid, who jumped from 11th place just last December to among the top 3 this round. Lapid is statistically tied with Bongo, who has also been gaining ground. And Ping Lacson rounds up the top 5. The rest of the list is made up of familiar names. Still, that is Ben Tulfo, Pia Cayetano, Manny Pacquiao, Abby Binay, Bato de la Rosa, Bong Revilla, Willie Revillame, and Kiko Pangilinan. 8 of the administration bets made it to the so-called winning circle. The same survey also measured trust ratings in both the president and vice president, and the numbers crystallize a downward trend. Trust in President Marcos dropped to 50%, down 4 points from December. Those who say they have little trust in him inched up by 1 point to 26%. Vice President Sara Duterte's numbers don't look too pretty either. Trust in her fell below the crucial threshold to 49%, while those who say that they have little trust in her inched up by a point as well to 30%. Duterte lost the backing of classes A to B and C, where her numbers dropped a whopping 17 points in just 1 month's time. Across socioeconomic groups, Marcos gained a lot of ground among classes A and B and C, jumping 16 points compared to December's results. However, he lost 6 points from Class D. For VP Duterte, she lost double digits from both classes A to B and C as well as Class E. Her trust ratings in both classes now sit below the all-important halfway mark.
I guess it doesn't, that phrase probably sums it up. It's crystallizing a downward trend because this is the 4th month, if I recall correctly, where the numbers have,
Yes.
slowly just eroded.
So the entire 4th quarter and then January.
Starting in July, actually, this study was commissioned by Strat-based group, and I took a quick look at the numbers before we started. Starting from July, it began a downward trend, so it can no longer be called an anomaly, right? Yeah. And it's both the president and the vice president's numbers that are declining.
So both of them are not benefiting from what's been happening politically. But taking a look at the senatorial survey, it feels like we're watching a marathon. In first round, you already see who's ahead, and then you don't know who's going to climb a few spots, or not a few spots, a lot of spots ahead.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Willie Revillame appeared in 8th place in the last survey, tas dito nasa number 12 siya. Lito Lapid was in 11th place, went up to the 3rd place. So that's a huge leap. But we're talking about different surveys, right?
Yeah.
Like different commissions.
Different commissions. But even if you look at the SWS survey, I think things are usually in flux. But I believe that this 2025 and this one is January. So we start looking at these surveys because we're very, very close to elections. In fact, it's already election
There's
period.
one name that's missing.
Amy Marcos.
That's right.
I know she fell below 14.
That's right. So Senator Amy Marcos dropped out of the so-called Magic 12, slipping to 14th place, garnering a vote of about 28%. It's not clear. I mean, the survey doesn't break down the reasons for the increase or decrease. It's now down to, to ourselves to
Well, somebody who's managed to break through is Kiko Pangilinan, who has always been in 14th, 15th, 16th place. Now he makes it to number 13, very, very close, inching his way up. But Camille Villar also out of the 10 to 15th places. Actually, if you notice the billboards, the huge billboards, it's all of these candidates who are in number 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
That's why I guess they need that extra push, or so they think, right? To be able to climb to a safer spot.
Which brings to my mind the PCIJ report that said it's Camille Villar and Senator Marcos
Who have spent $1 billion.
have spent at least $1 billion on campaigns and ads leading up to the elections. So I don't know whether that's going to change their strategy to see their numbers, comfortably out of the so-called winner circle. But again, it's still a few months away, and anything could change, right?
Things could change. I think, like you say, it's a triathlon. I look at it as golf. Sometimes it's just first day one, it's like this, and then day two looks completely different.
You have an off
And
day.
also sometimes it's there's no accounting for the big increases. Like in this particular round, it's Senator Lito Lapid who jumped. Let's see, how many points? From 11th place to between 3rd and 4th. So again, what happened between December and now? What did he do in that time to make his visibility go down?
You know, I only remember...
Sometimes it doesn't...
I only remember one thing. He cleared his name in the Quadcom hearings. He said, these accusations na in my province, in Pampanga, because nandun yung mga pogo, diba? Nakasama daw ako, hindi ako kasama doon. That was the only thing that really sticks in my head in the last 6 months.
Again,
hearing Senator Lapid.
We don't have clear reasons. We're going to have to bring StratBase into the picture to try to dissect that for us.
It would be interesting, though, to put their campaigns side by side, like which strategy
Well, we'll
works.
see. But for now, we got to go on a quick break.
Up next, the Trump administration's immigration crackdown is in full swing with an average of 1,000 arrests per day. We'll be speaking with DFA Undersecretary Ed De Vega about the fallout when the big story returns. Keep it here. Welcome back. You're still watching the big story here on One News.
Just minutes before it was to take effect, a U.S. federal court judge blocked President Donald Trump's latest order to freeze government spending on federal aid. Trump's directive caused panic and chaos among states, schools, and organizations that rely on trillions of dollars from Washington. But the administrative stay is only in effect till Monday afternoon. As promised, Trump has already issued orders to halt all foreign aid, freeze hiring, and shut down diversity programs. His administration has also offered buyouts of federal workers to shrink the size of the government. The White House has yet to comment on the court order, but Democrats have since called Trump's spending freeze unlawful and dangerous.
U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, sweeps have gotten underway with multiple raids in cities across the United States. In New York City, for instance, U.S. Secretary for Homeland Security Kristi Noem oversaw the roundup. In a post on X, Noem said, "We are doing this right, doing exactly what President Donald Trump promised the American people, making our streets safe. I'm on it." Several people were arrested, which Noem said were criminal aliens, with some having outstanding warrants. The ICE said it has made an average of about 710 immigration arrests daily since Thursday last week, up from a daily average of about 311 in a 12-month period through September under former President Joe Biden. All right, let's try to get updates on this issue. We have with us again Foreign Affairs Undersecretary Eduardo De Vega. Good evening, sir. Thanks for being with us again.
Happy New Year. Good evening.
Oh, that's right. You're wearing red. I just noticed. Happy Chinese New Year. The topic we're talking about tonight, unfortunately.
You work too hard. You work too hard, ladies.
Yeah, I know. We wish we also wish we could take the day off, but yes. First things first, I want to get an update on the numbers. There were news reports from this week that said that about upwards of 20 Filipinos had already been deported, and some 80 OFWs, are undocumented Filipinos rather, are still waiting in line to be deported. Can you give us an update on the numbers, please?
Let me clarify that. Ambassador Romualdez was the first to report that, and I got the written report. Those 24 were not deported or are not being deported under the Trump administration's deportation program. This was the total number of Filipinos who were deported from the United States between October 1 to January 18, just before the Trump administration took office. From the first Monday, January 20, of the Trump administration's assumption of office, up to at least last Monday, according to our embassy in Washington, there was not one of any Filipino citizen who was deported. Now, there are a pending number of 16 who were already in the pipeline. In fact, who were already in the custody of the ICE and maybe deported in the next few days.
Sorry, is that...
But if you count it, the 24 were not deported because of this new mass deportation program of President Trump.
Sorry, did you say 16 or 60?
16.
16.
16.
Okay. 16 are in line, have been detained by the ICE in the U.S. awaiting deportation to the Philippines, correct?
Yes, but they were caught even before President Trump took office.
I see.
And you will see that the Trump administration is already implementing the Trump administration's, long commitment, long promises to engage in these mass deportations. But if you note, from the beginning, I think they knew, it's clear, they knew who they were targeting. And they were not targeting places where Filipinos are, where our overstaying Filipinos are. They seem to know which kinds of overstaying aliens they wanted out. And they were those with pending search warrants, meaning pending criminal offenses in the United States. We've always said and reminded the public that the Trump administration was always saying they'd go out after criminals, after terrorist threats, and after those who were brought in by the Biden administration without any economic purpose for the United States. In other words, millions who were just brought in as some sort of refugees, but who have not been contributing to the U.S. economy. We don't think the Filipinos fall under that. Of course, our ambassador has already advised the Filipinos, if you can, go home on your own. At any rate, whatever your decision is, our embassies are there to assist you, our embassies and consulates.
Yusek, can we get some more clarity on the 16 that are in line? Now, I understand that this was these are Biden deportations and not Trump, but I'm just curious, while we're on the subject, can you give us a profile of why they're getting deported? Is it just because of being undocumented immigrants, or did they commit some petty crimes or stuff like that?
I don't have the, and neither does the embassy have the full details. One thing for sure, they're overstaying. So look at it this way. If you count 24 plus 16 in the last few months, that's only 40 Filipinos. That's not anywhere near the 300,000 that we fear are subject to deportation. So if you look at it in perspective, all countries have the right to send home overstaying aliens. And we already have 350 or 370,000 Filipinos who are overstaying. If there are a few hundred who are deported every quarter, and of course, under the Trump administration, this number is bound to increase. We have to admit that. It's going to increase. But if there are only a relatively few Filipinos who are deported every year, let us say 1,000 or less than 1,000, you look at it in perspective, it doesn't mean that we're going to see a very worrisome trend of suddenly all the Filipinos being forced home before the Trump administration ends its term of office. So the thing is, for those Filipinos who are concerned, again, tulad ng payo, as Ambassador Romualdez said, go home on your own, legalize yourselves, that's another option, And there are Filipino-American lawyers now offering legal services for this purpose. Or if you cannot do either, just don't attract attention to yourselves. Now, we don't want to sound as a partner of the United States that we are consenting to Filipinos becoming illegal aliens. But we are the Philippines. We protect our overseas nationals, and the United States knows that. And no country is going to help the United States deport its own citizens from the United States. So the U.S. understands that. So if you say, well, mga kababayan, just avoid being noticed. Certainly don't fall under those categories. Don't commit a crime against an American citizen.
Yusek,
And I think we're not going to see a massive number of Filipinos brought home.
Yusek, it's good that we're hopeful about that. But would you have an updated number? You've been making this call already for a few months now. How many Filipinos have actually approached the embassy or the DFA for help on legalizing their papers? And under the Trump administration, have there been Filipinos who have been the spotlight or have been detained by the ICE?
I just said earlier, zero. At least as of Monday, zero. None. But the first question was about how many. I can't give the exact numbers, but for sure, there must be a few dozen. There's the embassy in Washington, plus various consulates. But remember, Filipinos are very resilient. They would know themselves how to contact their own lawyers. So I'll make this call again for Filipinos. If you need assistance with getting a lawyer, we are in touch with Filipino-American lawyers who are working under the Filipino-American Legal Defense Group, or the FALDEF, or Filipino-American Legal Assistance Fund. It's a group of lawyers helping Filipinos, Phil-Am lawyers. We'll get you in touch with them. Apparently, the Filipinos pretty much know what to do without contacting our posts. As for Filipinos who have gone to the embassies, to our foreign service posts, better put, to say, I want to go home, I want to renew my passport or get a travel document so I can go home, or maybe could you even sponsor my ticket? So far, none. Unless I get another report tomorrow, there's not one who has gone through it. And we sort of expected that. And all of us have kamag-anaks or friends in the United States, some of whom may even be overstaying. And we're not surprised, are we? Yeah. That no one has gone to the ambassador or the consul general to say, help me go home.
The other issue is, of course, the scenes of the ICE raids are dramatic, but then the other thing that's getting secondary attention is the fact that he's ordered to an end to birthright citizenship, which I feel is more relevant to Filipinos who live there. There's a lot of mixed status families. For instance, the parents are H-1B visa holders, and the child may not be entitled to American citizenship anymore, or one of the partners is on a working visa and the other is a green card holder. They may not necessarily be granted the same rights anymore. What is the official embassy advice for mixed status families?
Well, first of all, every country has the right to determine who is or is not a citizen of that country. I think what the U.S. is doing is adopting what the United Kingdom already did decades ago. There was a time that the United Kingdom, for example, gave nationality status to everybody born in the United Kingdom. And then some time ago, they made it possible only if at least one parent were a UK resident, UK citizen, or at least a resident, a legal resident. I think the United States is applying that, although for our part, this is something internal to the United States. We already announced that. We're not going to tell the United States who is or is not a citizen, as long as every Filipino is given the due process of law whenever they are arrested in the United States for deportation, for criminal prosecution, any other reason. Secondly, as for the advice that we will give, well, we're telling Filipinos, we would advise Filipinos just to be vigilant, pay attention, consult the consulates or the ambassadors to know their rights if they fall under those categories. The law cannot take effect retroactively. In other words, if a child was already recognized as as a United States citizen because the child was born, for example, last August in the United States of two illegally residing parents, but already the child was recognized as a U.S. citizen, the law cannot simply take out the child's citizenship. However, the law may be amended such that the citizenship of the child will not be a legal basis for the parents, either parent, to be given legal residence in the United States. Unfortunately, that may be the case. So we're asking all Filipinos, consult the consulate embassy and see what's going to happen, because there are a lot of legal petitions being filed against this new order or this new set of laws. So we'll await what the U.S. court system decides on whether this is constitutional or not.
Okay. But in general, though, Yusek de Vega, do Filipinos in the United States commonly go to the consulate or to the embassy to kind of like consult? Because normally they will approach an immigration lawyer, right? But I'm just wondering,
Yes.
do people walk in and be like, "Hi, Consul, pwede ba ganito, pwede ba ganyan, pa-advise naman?"
It's not very frequent, but they email. More than show up, they might email. And then they're already happy with an email reply.
Okay.
Keep them coming. By the way, this is very common. We have, and it doesn't fall on nilang Pilipina, ha? Foreign women who have a U.S. visa, who are about to give birth, who will go to the U.S.
Yeah.
just to give birth there, so that their child becomes a U.S. citizen.
Yes,
That
it is.
will not happen. That will not have the desired effect, possibly, not anymore. So that's another piece of advice we have to give. As much as we may like the veneer or the protection of the United States for our children, these moms should consider that might not work anymore in the future.
Yeah.
But again, we're always available, and mga Filipinos sa US, just like Filipinos anywhere,
Find ways
they
around
are
it.
resilient. They know how to protect themselves. In fact, if you notice, the ambassador gave the advice. Kung kusang loob na kayo umuwi, kung pwede. And the Filipinos some of them were not very pleased with that advice. In other words, they felt, kaya namin to, we can weather this. We can weather this.
Right.
So we're, cheering them on. I'm sure, iba yung ganito na they go around TV, give interviews, lambast the Trump administration, and they're illegal. It's like they're putting a target and say, deport me, please, deport me, please. We're not advising that. Now, if you are a legal resident, and of course, a naturalized citizen, by all means, you have that right.
So just lay low.
But if you're overstaying,
Yeah.
how are you going to do that? That's another piece of advice we have been giving.
Right.
And I think the Filipinos know that. Some, of course, will do what they want to do. It doesn't mean we're not going to help them in case they are arrested.
Right. Yusek de Vega, sorry, I need to shift gears right now because I'm cognizant of your time, and I did want to touch on another subject, which is, the other Trump order that has caused shockwaves was when he put a stop to all U.S. foreign aid. And you were quoted as saying that that shouldn't severely impact the Philippines. And to be honest, I have trouble believing that because the Philippines is a major recipient of U.S. aid. In fact, just last year, they had 175 projects in the Philippines, and I looked up the numbers. They spent upwards of 190 million on various projects across the country, ranging from education to health to emergency response to even local governance. If you could just flesh out that idea for me, the idea that we're not going to get severely impacted by the aid that was frozen in the United States.
Maybe I wasn't misquoted, but perhaps I didn't put it the right way. I'll try to explain it now. First, you will see that there have been other government offices who have said the same thing. PCO said that the Philippines is studying the case, so we hold off on too much commentaries on this until we find out the final decision of the U.S. Number two, there are some people like some members of Congress, even NEDA, who appear confident that we still can work even with this executive order, because a lot of the U.S. aid is not direct aid from the U.S. to the Philippines, but goes through filters, or goes through agencies, organizations. But let me tell you what I meant. What I was conveying was some optimism, because this is a review. They did not say that aid has been permanently stopped. They are reviewing the aid for purposes of seeing which countries should continue to receive such aid and whether this serves the purpose of the Trump administration and the United States. And I was conveying the confidence, especially since our Foreign Secretary Enrique Manalo spoke with the U.S. State Secretary Marco Rubio, and the two confirmed our solid partnership. Therefore, that I think we're not suddenly going to see a dramatic deduction in the aid packages for the Philippines. That was the hidden message I was trying to convey. Another one is that, well, we're Filipinos. I mean, it's not going to be the end of the world if we don't have U.S. aid, right? We'll have to show how resilient we are. But again, everybody's acting as if it's definite the U.S. has cut aid to the Philippines. This is a temporary measure. They're studying it. And of course, we will be working with our U.S. partners on it. Much more I can't say. I'll defer to the Foreign Secretary and other officials higher than me to make the final announcements on this.
Well, Yusek, there has been a TRO on that EO by President Trump.
On what? TRO on what?
There has been a TRO, temporary restraining order, issued on the freezing of the foreign aid directed by President Trump. So what are the marching orders now in terms of getting that money? Because when you say you are reviewing this for a certain period in time, that also means a delay in the disbursement of that fund. And we know a delay is very critical when it comes to serving issues like health aid, emergency aid, disaster response aid. All of that will be affected by a 90-day pause. So what are the marching orders now with the threat of President Trump that he might suspend those who disobey his order?
The marching orders have always been that the United States is a key ally of the United States, of the Philippines, and that we are to continue to engage them as our strongest bilateral partner. The Trump administration has taken over. We are working, as announced, on a possible meeting between the two heads of state, eventually. So we are not working on the basis of panic. We're working on the basis of a partner, of a superpower maintaining a level of maturity as we engage in a healthy bilateral relationship with the United States. It's not one of medicacy, but neither does it mean that we don't want aid from the United States or we don't need aid. So much more, I leave to others to discuss. But definitely, we don't intend for the Philippines to be removed as a key partner of the United States. It may be that at the end of this review period, the United States shall cut aid for certain countries. Yeah. They haven't for Egypt and Israel, which is not a surprise, honestly. Yeah. Or cut aid or limit the amount of aid that they give to certain countries.
Right. Okay.
Philippines does not intend to be one of those countries, and we are certain that some countries will maintain the level of aid. So I was trying to maintain a level of optimism. But ladies, Chinese New Year, we're proud to be Filipino. We are not going to suddenly die if we don't get aid from any country.
But it's a lot of programs.
I feel
it's a lot of programs.
Tension. Naku, mag-deport na lahat ng Pilipino. No? Or, naku, we can't survive for 3 months if we have no aid.
Okay.
I think we're better than that. Lalo na New Year pa.
Good to see you're bringing...
Besides this election, so
yeah, well,
we're thinking of other things.
Good to see you're brimming in with optimism.
I have to get back to my tikoy.
Oh,
we'll let you get back to that.
We'll let you get back to your tikoy, and good to see you brimming with optimism. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, DFA Undersecretary Ed De Vega.
Our seats are red.
They are very red. So, and I'm wearing the color of the year. But up next, like everyone has been saying, including Yusek De Vega, it is Chinese New Year, and we are not letting the Lunar New Year pass without speaking to a feng shui expert. Coach Johnson Chua joins us again in a bit for his forecasts this year of the wooden snake. Keep it here.
Welcome back. You're still watching The Big Story here on One News.
The PNP Highway Patrol Group will increase its presence along Marilake the site of a recent fatal road crash. But the question is, will these be enough to keep thrill seekers off that highway? Gerard Del Peña has that story.
A few days after this road crash that killed one motorcycle rider and injured several others, members of the PNP Highway Patrol Group and the Tanay Rizal Public Safety Unit were back along Marilake Highway. Their presence immediately had an effect on their goal, from treating the mountain road as a racetrack. And for some, they may have other reasons to avoid the checkpoint altogether. Like this rider who was caught with an expired registration. After the recent accident on Marilake, citizens and motorists have expressed support for the increased police visibility along the highway. On Wednesday, both the HPG and Tanay authorities had no less than 10 men on hand to cover its 115-kilometer stretch. Maybe enough for a weekday, but not on weekends when riders gather in the thousands in areas called the Devil's Corner, Manukan, and Riders Cliff. Senator Rafi Tulfo, chairperson of the Senate Committee on Public Services, wants the PNP to establish outposts for a more established presence on the highway. Motorists agree.
Pabor din naman yan kasi para maiwasan din yung mga disgrasya.
Nakakatakot kasi yung ibang nag-chill ride lang po, pwede pong madamay.
The LTO for its part says racing and performing stunts on public roads is considered reckless driving, an offense which can lead to fines and suspension or revocation of driver's license.
Kasi ba't kayo mag-organize na ganong klaseng, alam nyo naman bawal eh. Di ba, anong tingin nyo, di kayo mahuli, lalagay nyo pa sa Facebook. The more we will run after you.
In an effort to help stop this practice, the agency says it will ensure motorcycle riders applying for licenses undergo proper training. Mendoza also warned that heads will roll in the agency if another accident happens. For News 5, Gerard de la Peña, we are One News.
Shifting gears now, let's take this time to welcome the Lunar New Year. Let's do so with feng shui consultant Coach Johnson Chua. Welcome back to the Big Story. And Kung Hei Fat Choi, Kyung Hee Wat Sai, Sinyan Koi La.
Yes,
Happy Chinese New Year.
Kong Si Ifa Chai to everyone, and welcome to the year of the 2025 year of the wooden snake. Yes.
All right, okay.
Thank you again for inviting me po.
Oh, ito na. We need a
Lahat ng guests natin
refresher.
naka-red.
Nag-guess namin siya pero closer to the new year, right? But this
I just
time,
remember that's why I wore this color because you said it was the lucky color, yellow, like light brown, di ba?
sa akin gray eh. Parang may gray din siya sinabi. Tama ba?
Yes, opo.
Oo.
Actually, kasi when we talk about this mga lucky color, di ba? We talk about the three elements, di ba? The first element is a metal color. Yeah, so metal color is something to do with gray, white, silver, or gold, no? And then when you talk about the blue color, okay, this has something to do with the water element. Yeah. And then the yellow color and the brown color is on the earth element.
Okay, it is the year of the snake. Can you give us a recap on what are the lucky and unlucky animal signs for the year?
Yes, okay. So bali meron kasi tayong top 3 animal sign para for the year 2025. Okay, these are the people who are born in the year of the rooster. Okay, that's our one of the top 3, no? Rooster, the monkey, and also the horse. Yan, sila pong tatlong ating best para for this year.
Oh, thank you. I'm a rooster.
I'm a horse.
Yeah, I'm not a monkey, unfortunately.
Yes,
And
rooster, the
then
monkey,
how about the other signs?
The ones that have to, kumbaga, work harder or be more careful.
Or yung pinaka
Yes,
pwedeng malasin?
Huwag natin sabihin yung word na malas.
Kasi wag malas.
Work harder, yes.
Work harder.
Will
If you
struggle.
remember, di ba, last time, nung pinag-usapan natin about that, na sinabi ko naman, di ba, na there's no such thing as malas naman. Yes, okay. So, maybe we use the word challenging. Okay, kasi pag challenging kasi, from the word challenge, people also becomes competitive. Maybe, sige, sabihin natin challenging, baka interesting naman din yung tao. Okay? Yeah, but syempre challenge, maybe there's a lot of bumps and humps or partly mga obstacles lang. Okay? Kaya ito yung mga 3 animal signs on that. Okay? So people who are born in the year of the rabbit, okay, and then year of the ox, and also year of the pig.
Rabbit, oxen. Okay. And then in the ones in the middle, those who are not part of the lucky and the challenged signs,
Yeah.
where do they find themselves?
Then in the middle naman, so partly yung mga nasa middle kasi it's medyo marami silang we can say that they have mixed luck energy for this year. So meron naman mga good energy na medyo ma-expect natin for this year, but also marami rin tayong mga precautions na kailangan din natin bantayan. Yeah, especially meron kasi akong ginawang ranking. So ang mga next yan is na medyo, the next 3 na medyo swerte, okay? So sila yung mga year of the rat, year of the dragon, and then year of the sheep. Yeah. Tapos yung next naman is the dog, the snake, and the tiger.
Ako yun, Doc. Pero Coach Johnson, curious lang ako, no? Pag-usapan natin yung significance ng Year of the Wooden Snake. Ano ba yung characteristic ng isang taon ng wooden snake? Well, is there anything we should watch out for? May ganun ba? May parang tema ba ang mga years based on the Chinese zodiac that it represents?
Yes, no, meron din naman, no. Pero although yun nga po, no, kasi marami po sa atin naririnig po natin, no. It's a snake year, so year daw ba ng ahasan?
Last year yata yun. Hindi, joke lang.
Yeah, no, kaya marami po medyo nagiging alarma, no, pag narinig ka nilang year of the snake and they say maybe this is a very bad year kasi snake is always na siya na symbolize sa mga like villain or mga negative energy or bad creature like that, no? So madalas gano'n. But for me kasi all of the 12 zodiac sign was being used, no, para sa animal zodiac. Okay, lahat sila may part ng good, may part ng bad in terms of their characteristic, personality. So wala naman talagang tinatawag na fixed good or fixed bad. Lahat po sila may balance on that. And then what we can see here, okay, because we're here in the wooden snake, at alam natin the characteristic of snake in terms of the positivity, number 1 dyan, sila very creative, they're wisdomic, okay, and then magaling din sila, they're very result-oriented people, no? So we can say na this year is a year of creation, okay? So creation is because of they're very creative, Okay, then maybe there's a lot of new opportunity, new ideas, new strategy, especially for people now. Very important ng creativity kasi ang labanan ng negosyo ngayon, pagalingan na ng creativity. Hindi na masyado puro hardworking lang. It's much more about how creative you are. Okay, that you can put. Mas lalo na people now in the internet na, social media now. Okay, yun. So, or doing live selling or online selling. So, marami na po kasing ganun din. No? Kaya medyo important yung creativity. And then another thing, no, as we say din, ang snake as its shedded skin, okay, then maybe this year is also a year of transformation. Okay, so pag sinabi natin transformation, then maybe maraming changes pwede mangyari para for the year. Although, yung nga lang, kasi people, when they hear the word changes, akala nila may, kasi di ba people na pag nila changes, parang ayaw nila eh. Parang may takot sila on that part, no? Kaya sa akin naman, no, changes is also good. Kasi sometimes we need to change, remove some of the things that we don't need, we don't want, or maybe mga negative habit, tanggalin natin yan para ma-absorb natin yung new, ma-adapt natin yung bago at maging flexible po tayo ulit.
Coach, speaking of transformation, I have a special phone-in question from our executive producer, Jan, and she says, how does that play into the fact that we're coming up to a pivotal election in just a few months' time? How will the characteristics of the year translate into the political outcome?
Yeah, kasi pag titignan natin sa overall, no, especially yung nga nabanggit natin yung transformation and change, and I think that's not only here, no, sa Philippines, but also in other country with the world now. Pero sabi nga natin, with the election time, maybe the changes also, diba, pag changes of leaders, mga ganun, talagang hindi maiwasan, there will be some tension and conflicts, maybe, okay, but syempre umaasa po tayo na mas more maging harmonious po yung pag-transfer ng position, if ever, no? And also, sana hindi po tayo magpapadala sa emotion ng snake because the emotion of snake are very impulsive and tactless and sometimes they do act without thinking. Okay? Kaya this year po, for all of, sa lahat ng mga nakikinig, be sure po na dapat po, we need to think wisely, vote wisely, okay? Tsaka, okay, kapag ano man yung maging outcome, okay, let's learn also to accept, no? Kailangan ma-accept natin kasi it's part of our change.
What's the zodiac sign of President Marcos
Ito
ba?
nga, pinag-usapan namin, kasi you weren't here last time, but Coach Johnson came here and then we found out that Gretchen, who's a horse, is the same sign as Sara
VP
Duterte,
Sara,
who's
horse
also a
din.
horse, and they're the lucky ones this year,
pero,
diba? Pero, yes.
Oh, it's monkey, rooster, and snake are the lucky ones, right? You said.
Monkey, rooster, and horse.
Horse.
Snake hindi.
A snake hindi.
So, pero si PBBM, lucky din pala because he is a year of the rooster.
Pero rooster si PBBM.
So, pareho
kayo.
Kaya pala,
Kaya
pala yung trust rating nila, pareho ring bumababa. Joke lang. Over-analysis.
Pero may ganun ba yun? Na just because, let's say, si VP Sara, horse siya, and maswerte yung horse kaysa sa rooster. Well, pareho silang swerte. May effect ba yun? Or yung year? Or yung element? Does that come into play?
Yeah, so far, no, kung titignan lang po natin, no, kasi we go back to the last year first, no? The 2024 Dragon Year. Originally, sa reading po natin, parehong hindi po masyado swerte ang horse at dragon. Okay, so maybe, syempre, both of our leaders are medyo partly nagkaroon ng mga maybe some tensions or conflicts like mga ganong problem. And syempre, nakaka-affect din po yung sa energy nila. Okay? Maybe they cannot totally affected din yung kanilang critical thinking, nagkakaroon sila mga impulsive or tactless actions like that. Or sometimes kasi pag low yung energy mo kasi, you are easily influenced by others. No? So medyo isa yung case ng problem din nun. Now, kung this year po, it's a better year for them. So we're hoping na much more mailalabas nila yung inner potentials nila na they can fight, they can express properly, or maybe they can do whatever it's the right thing to do na based na talaga sa gusto nila mangyari.
Johnson, you talked about creativity, you talked about business, you talked about opportunity. What are the opportunities that you see in the business landscape that people can keep their eyes on and possibly invest in?
Yeah, I think now is number one is the metal element, okay? And the metal element may kinalaman siya sa innovation. So anything na meron technology of innovation or technology na or innovation in terms of adaptation din natin sa part ng social media, I think we need to medyo double check on that part. Mas lalo na for now, the technology is going AI now. Okay, so I think yun yung mas more ang kailangan natin tignan. And then another thing, no, kahit sa mga ibang company now there or other businesses, that's the way how they expand things is more about upgrading to the new technology, upgrading their system, parang ganun siya. So I think that's one thing, no? Kaya napakarami po mga business opportunity now for sa mga techie business like that, no? Supporting the mga old business to do more to para hindi sila mawala. Kasi kung hindi po napansin niyo po nung pagpasok na po talaga ng mundo ng internet, kasi isa po kasi namamatay yung mga traditional business like that. So kaya I think yun yung pinaka naging isa sa medyo patok, no? Especially the metal element represent innovation, consultancy, and also organizing or systematic yan. So anything related to that, pasok yan.
Coach, what about, this is for everyone watching, no? I know mahirap mag-feng shui na generic kasi iba-iba ang fates nating lahat at ang ating mga birthday at kung ano-ano pa. Pero what is one, kumbaga, feng shui practice that everyone can practice to ensure and welcome in good fortune this year of the wooden snake? May ganun ba?
Meron naman po. Originally po, yung pinaka-tinuturo ko talaga or yung pinaka-aking motto na lagi kong tinuturo sa lahat, no, is to practice DHB, to define your higher value. Number one is to think positive, feel positive, and also act positive, no? Kasi napaka-importante yung emotion. Originally, ang pinaka-critical part, how to survive the energy of the snake, is how firm you are controlling your emotion. Okay? Kapag hindi niyo po na-control yung emotion niyo, that will start ng downfall po ng lahat ng klase ng malas na pwede natin maramdaman. Okay? Like example, health. Health is controlled by emotion. Okay? And this year, meron tayong illness star, no? Para sa snake. So when the illness or sickness, mabilis tayong magkasakit. Pero what causes this? Stress. What causes our stress? Emotional stress or psychological stress or mental stress. So that means, ang pinaka-main talaga na nagkakos or driver is the emotion. Kasi mas lalo na this year, lack of metal tayo, people do more action without thinking. Okay? So maraming impulsive or pwede maraming maging tactless. Okay? Tsaka ang snake, kaya nga most likely ito yung tinuturo ko madalas sa lahat. Okay? If the snake is too fast, okay? Kasi chances magiging sobrang bilis siya. Sobrang volatile niya. Okay? Pag masyado siyang mabilis, take our own pace. Okay? Pag sinasabi sa inyo, go with the flow, that doesn't mean that go with the flow with the year of the snake, but go with the flow with your own flow. Okay, kailangan medyo kontrolado yung face nyo. Secondly, if the year offer you a lot of opportunity, then kailangan the more you need to be very firm with your target goal and only choose the right opportunity you need to use. If you take all opportunity, then medyo nagiging greedy tayo. Which is yun yung ayaw ni snake. Yun yung delikado kay snake. Kasi yun yung gusto ni snake para mabudol tayo. Okay, kaya we need to be very careful. And then third, if there's a lot of hunger in this year, the more we need to practice contentment para ma-maintain natin na grounded tayo, na hindi pa rin tayo parang lutang ba, na parang lahat gusto natin. Kaya nga, ang lagi ko sinasabi, don't be deceived with the apple na inalok sa atin ng snake.
Okay. Ang galing nun, Coach. So basically, control your emotions, moderate your greed, and stay grounded and centered. Yun ang general advice, not just for this year, but I think any given day of the year.
Any year.
Any year. Okay. Any day.
Well, thank you so much for joining us and giving us words of wisdom on this very day of Chinese New Year. As we welcome the Year of the Snake, we have Feng Shui consultant, Coach Johnson Chua. Happy Chinese New Year.
Happy Chinese New Year again. Okay, and if you happen to be passing by Manila or the city of Manila for the Chinese New Year or Lunar New Year celebration, why not check out the Pasig River Esplanade? And this is our big picture tonight. Here is the very IG-worthy destination at night. This photo is courtesy of city planner and architect Paulo Alcazaret. The Pasig River Esplanade is just behind the Manila Post Office and right across Binondo. From 6 to 10 in the evening, fountains and other structures along the banks are lit up. This is just phase 1 of the 25-kilometer Esplanade, and soon we should expect to see bike lanes, jogging paths, cafes, and retail stores there.
Although maybe don't all descend on
The Esplanade.
The Esplanade and Binondo tonight, because obviously it is still quite busy.
But then
It's day one of the Chinese New Year.
it is also like the best time to descend to see Binondo and the Esplanade as well. I think
The lights are all on.
That's true.
For sure the nights are
And you're
all on.
elbow to elbow with everyone else.
Yeah.
And you're sitting in
Ito naman,
traffic.
Chinese New Year. Oo nga, Grinch pa rin eh, no? Chinese New Year.
No, I'm just saying, I love to see the aerial photos, but you know.
The reality on the ground is different.
Yeah.
Oh, let's just wait for the 25 kilometers left, or
I know,
24.
24, or maybe the first 10
No,
kilometers.
you can go as tomorrow. The lights will still be up, the lanterns will still be up, the decor will still be up.
Go
But
na lang
it's
during
day two.
daytime.
Oh.
Daytime na lang para wala.
Daytime na lang.
Day 2 of Chinese New Year, so people aren't rushing to go to the temples, right?
Okay, galit na si Marie on Chinese New Year. So she's telling me to end the show. So that's it for the big story tonight.
Year one is all science all the time.